Alright, okay guys, I think I'll just welcome you. Firstly, thank you for coming into the webinar today. I think we'll just start. We'll await a couple of people, but I'll just go on a little slow. Meantime, as I've mentioned, I've got this illustration for you based on Yahoo Currency Center. Okay, once you've gone to Yahoo Finance News, once you've typed that onto Google, you're able to go into the Yahoo Finance website and click on currencies, and you'll get all these tables. Now I've separated all these tables based on the majors. As you can see in this red box, these are all the major pairs here. Then you've got European crosses, and then you've got yen crosses. So all the crossings using yen are in this box here. Now as you can see, if we actually go on to the yen crosses first. Now before anything else, I just want to let you know we are now at the first stage of looking at trading opportunities. So the best thing to do is to look for weakening currencies or strengthening currencies, weak or strong currencies as well, just to get a snapshot of what's going on in the markets. Okay, so this is what's going on in the market, and it's really interesting as of market open today on what's going on with the yen crosses. As you can see, all the currencies versus the yen, they're all on the strong side. Okay, so almost all except for one, ZAR is the South African rand. Okay, now so this gives us a picture that the Japanese yen has actually depreciated in value quite a lot versus most of the other currencies, as you can see. Okay, and the strongest one, top three, as you can see, the euro, the CHF, and the GBP. So these ones may pose some trading opportunities whereby majority of investors, as you can see, as of market open, has been shorting the yen. So as if you actually look into the news, if you type BOJ, BOJ stands for Bank of Japan, okay, and you type it onto Google, and then you click on news, you'll be able to look at the whole news revolving the Bank of Japan's decision on interest rates and things like that. Okay, the reason I said that is because if you go on to your economic calendar and filter out to this week's events, as you can see, the most important ones, you could look at the first one on the plate is the BOJ monetary policy meeting minutes. Okay, so hence the reason we have got investors and traders going into that trade versus the yen and shorting it, because a lot of things on the news has been negative as well about the yen and interest rates. I would like you to look into the news and filter out what can you actually gather from the news talking about the yen, talking about the BOJ, and talking about the whole scenario in Japan. Okay, it looks like they have actually gone into a what do you call that, recession sort of period as well. It's time for them to depreciate the value of their currencies now. So hence the reason you've got a lot of movement, because we have got news to back that up. Now what happens on Thursday, May the 12th, we have got loads of GBP data. So be aware, you have got GBP data, lots of trading opportunities versus the GBP or GBP related currencies on Thursday. Now Thursday is also a special day because some pairs like the Euro JPY or the GBP versus the AUD and other pairs concerning the GBP as well as the AUD and the Euro are quite high in terms of their average movement, average pip movement for Thursday. So Thursday will pose lots of very good opportunities, trading opportunities because of the volatility as well. And then you have got so many pairs, so many data releases just concerning the GBP. So the GBP on Thursday, when it comes to very important data, actually revolves around the GBP mostly, okay, on Thursday, and we could probably expect that. So let's look at patterns, okay, we'll look at patterns and match that with what you can actually see from this page here. This page here concerns data releases that are very important or high impact for the whole week. So we have got GBP, of course we've got the yen as well, okay, but then we've got euro on gross domestic product, and we've also got the retail sales as of Friday as well. So two very important days are Thursday and Fridays, but mostly concerning the GBP starting on Thursdays itself. Okay, so then this is what we could get a bit of a snapshot in terms of the fundamentals, in terms of data releases that could actually move the market. Okay, so this is on the fundamental side. Now, if we move on to currencies that poses opportunities, marrying that with what you have seen earlier on, you've got all the GBP connected, euro connected, and yen connected. As we have mentioned earlier on, all the yen connected one, the yen is on the downside. Why? Because you've got euro versus the yen, the CHF versus the yen. All other pairs versus the yen seem to be on the positive side, as you can see. So when they are all on the positive side, that gives you a hint that mostly it's on the negative side for the yen. Okay, so the yen is actually suffering some sort of weaknesses. So we would then categorize JPY under the weak column. Then we've got stronger ones, and what you can actually then do based on this whole illustration itself, start matchmaking what you could actually see as good matches, as long as you know which sort of pairs following the change column should be categorized under strong or under weak. And then what you do, the magic yourself. You just combine and match make. But one cautious note is for you to actually choose the ones that are high in terms of the percentage of change, not the very, very low ones like this one here, 0.2596, 0.002. We're looking at the 3 to 4 highest ones, okay? Like you could see on this one here on the majors, we could see that the USD versus JPY, the Euro versus JPY, as well as the USD versus the CAD, okay? Now, this one here, for example, if you're looking at USD JPY, you would then look at a lot of movement here, and we still have got very strong sentiments to the downside for the yen, okay, so that we could look at USD versus JPY on the upside. So what we then would look at after you have actually combined the pairs that you like, the strengthening one versus the weakening ones, vice versa, or the strong versus the weak ones, and then you are actually looking at possible patterns, and then you're looking at trends to confirm, and then you look at patterns. Okay, so this is exactly what's going on at the moment. Screenshot as of today when market opened. I think I've got a question here. Osama, you've asked me here, when is the right time to look at the change? I mean, which session is the good one? Well, best is to as soon as the market opens, meaning the first sessions in Australia itself and Japan would probably be the best time. As soon as you wake up in the morning would probably be best. I mean, this is the best thing about Forex, is that we have got currencies that may fit us depending on which time zone or location we are in. Okay, so it doesn't matter. As soon as this should be your first step in looking at this change, is as soon as you get up in the morning and as soon as you are ready to actually trade and analyze the market, would probably be the first best thing that you should do. Okay, so look into all these change crosses, and try looking at not only majors, looking at yen crosses as well, and the European crosses. Okay, you can always it depends on what you're interested in. If you've got interest in emerging markets or Asian Pacific pairs as well, feel free to do that. And also on the same page, once you've clicked on currencies, you are able to also click on other instruments, other financial instruments, including commodities like gold, silver, palladium, or anything that you want. Okay, because sometimes, depending on the industry that you're in, some of the traders are actually into mining gold physically, or involved in jewelry, or involved in some sort of precious metals, or specific what do you call that, import export of raw materials like rubber or things like that. So there are other types of, or other currencies that may be more how do you call that, relevant to you. So that would give you an idea of what you would like to trade and what you may be much more sure of in terms of the trend. Okay, so now let's move on to the chart side of things. Okay, I would like to first and foremost talk about pound because we have had quite a number of traders who have actually been caught sort of in the soup with the GBP USD, but I would like to explain a little bit that the pattern that we have spotted only got bigger. So the pattern didn't actually fail, but the pattern got bigger, which is a good sign. That means that the prices as expected would sort of or most probably fall through as what the pattern has indicated. Okay, so we look into GBP USD first on the 4-hour chart. Okay, what I meant by the pattern that got bigger, initially as of last week we had a W-like pattern like this. Okay, we had a shorter X to A. I'll just move this one a little bit, and that was the pattern that looked like a W pattern at the time when C was actually moving towards D, but then it didn't really went past the X level here. You know, it was actually somewhere here. So we have had a guess that a probable educated guess that if this was a W-like pattern, it should actually be reversing anywhere around here, but it didn't. It progressed and reversed here instead. Okay, only because the W pattern got bigger with the X have actually extended this way, and this seemed to be a more accurate W-like pattern. Okay, but with the W pattern, in this W pattern, we located a sort of Z pattern here as well. As you can see, you've got this very thin gray line here. Okay, that is actually an A, B, C, D. I'll just draw it out for you guys. We've got a Z-like pattern here. Okay, all the way up here and all the way down here. Okay, so what that means is this length here would be sort of equal to this length here, and what that means is that it's signaling a little bit more room to come down into this zone here and then sort of make an upward trend. So it is on the downside just a little bit more along this zone here, marked at 1.4386 to 1.4307. Now the reason I say that as well is very simple. I'll just indicate to you about the Z pattern first. Okay, now the Z pattern is such that we have got a pattern that is exactly as I've drawn earlier on here. Okay, so you have got a Z pattern like this. All right, now usually once it comes down here, now this is my A here, B, C, and D. Okay, once it ends around here, it usually follows the biggest move here and goes upwards. All right, now that usually comes down to about 50% Fibonacci level. Okay, so normally it's similar in length, this length here and this length here similar, but also once it comes down here it corrects at 50% of this whole length around here. So it's about time for it to actually come down around here and start reversing. But the other thing about the ABCD, the Z pattern, is that we have got another confirmation, meaning this is what it looks like. If we've got a Z pattern like that, okay, and go up, yeah, it usually makes an ABCD pattern inside it. So here it's supposed to correct somewhere here and then come down. Okay, so that will make that ABCD pattern. So hence the reason we are expecting a bit of correction. Okay, it's a bit of correction to first come up first and coming down. So a lot of traders have actually asked me, okay, have actually mentioned to me that they are on a sell trade, but they're losing at the moment. Now, yes, if you're looking at it from an hourly forward chart, we're just waiting for the move to happen, meaning that we are expecting a corrective up. So the corrective up, if you're already selling somewhere here, that corrective up would definitely put you into a bit of a floating situation with a negative sort of equity at the moment. I mean, and negative at the moment, but in terms of losses. But that correction should look at what do you call that? It going up to that area and then making downwards. But it might not even make up to that area per se, because we have got the 50 EMA here as well. So it might not do the upward move so far. Okay, but let me just indicate that to you again for those who are worried about the GBP USD on the sell side of it. I wouldn't tell traders just don't worry or things like that. I want you to look for the logic behind the analysis that you have actually made. So the logic behind that, I'm going to just show you now, is that we have got X, A, B, C, D. Now that is one big pattern that would indicate it coming downwards, and it is indeed coming downwards. Okay, but then inside it we have got that A, B, C, D Z-like pattern. So it should actually be coming down to almost the 50 Fibonacci level. So that 50 is by pulling this end right up to that end, and as you can see, the 50 is around here. Okay, and as you can see, prices has actually bounced off. Okay, now that bouncing off, okay, let's just zoom in a little bit. Okay, comes back down here, and let's look at whether or not prices should actually be going upwards a little bit more to make that correction and then come back downwards again. Okay, if at all it has actually gone above all these three lines, then we have a signal that the trend is sort of changing, and then we have got the more bulls coming in. Okay, but while we are looking at this one here, we could actually see that we have got loads of appreciation versus the yen for the GBP. Okay, but then the GBP versus the dollar, it's on a bit on the low side, but then GBP versus the rest, we could see more strength. So overall we've got a bit more strength for the GBP. We've got lots of how do you call that, participation on the buy side as of this morning, so hence we can see that correction. Okay, and that's the reason why I like, in a way, trading with patterns, because we can then look at the behavior or the possible behavior of traders, or why traders or investors have actually done that. Why have they actually gone into buying just suddenly this morning? I mean, maybe because we have got a bit of a correction. Perhaps it's waiting, in terms of patterns, it's actually waiting for a little bit of up before it comes down a little bit more. But this is sort of the maximum. It could actually be the maximum here and then starts to go above. So hence the reason we want to look at patterns in advance, so that we can find or gauge the reason behind the trades going against you, or maybe you would be thinking that you may have gone in it wrong time, wrong price, or things like that. So while you have a pattern like this, you're able to look at it clearer on a bigger picture of why and what's exactly happening to the particular currencies, or what probably is actually happening. So in this case, we have got a W-like pattern. It is indeed coming downwards, but again, I'm waiting for a bit of a correction up and then come back down to this area here. But this is what we're actually waiting for. There has been a bit of upward move. It may happen, it may not happen, but it looks like there's a bit of a struggle at the moment. Now I want you guys to be very, very careful when the struggle happens. The struggle is when prices are in between all these three lines, as you can see. Okay, for any pairs, whether it's commodities or anything, once prices starts to go in between the three lines, they may signal a little bit of uncertainty. Okay, it might actually even signal you guys that it may not actually hit your TP or travel so much at this moment of time. That means that the traders and the traders or investors between the buyers and the sellers are actually balancing, doing a bit of a balancing act. They're actually battling each other. Okay, you have got them in balance at the moment. So even though you're looking at all the prices coming downwards here, but that occurrence at the moment signals a bit of uncertainty. And if you look at the prices itself, you'll notice for the GBP USD on the 4-hour chart, as you can see, it's 1.4423. So 23 again, it's very close to the 20 site number, hence the reason. So we want prices to come up a little bit, make that pattern, and then come back down. Or if it's going to come back down more, it needs to go under the 10, under the 20, like 1.4410, and then go lower. Then you get that strong signal for more movement to the downside. Okay, so that is what's happening at the moment for the GBP. I hope you guys can understand. For those who are not very clear, you can always ask me to repeat that again for the GBP USD, because I have had lots of questions about whether or not certain things is happening for GBP. Is it going to be going down much more? But just from a patterns perspective, it's got a little bit of uncertainty going on. It may actually correct itself in within here. Okay, so this is the whole thing, in within this movement here, and then come back down again. Okay, once it reaches around this zone here, that's actually almost similar in length in that, and that might then bring it upwards again. Okay, so that is for the GBP USD. Alright, give me a second. I'm just going to clear all the drawings there. So if you guys have got no questions on the GBP USD, we can always come back to it again once you guys have got some questions. But this is a bearish big W-like pattern signaling more downtrend. But again, if at all it corrects itself here and then come back down here, that becomes like an M pattern, and then more on the upside might just start to correct itself upwards. Okay, the other threat to the whole pattern that you see, even though it's a big W-like pattern, the other thing as well is that this might actually also signal a very, very big possible cup-like pattern. What does that mean? That means that it might just make all this thing, but it's going up, it's climbing upwards instead of coming downwards. Okay, so again, we are talking about a lot of issue about the Brexit. Okay, got this going on at the moment, and as you know, 1 week they're positive with it, the other week they're negative with it, and it keeps on bobbing between positivity and negativity in this scenario of Brexit. Okay, but this may just be happening at the moment, a very smooth rise without people knowing, a possibility like a ladder, okay, going back and forth, and then coming upwards. But this looks like, if at all this does happen and it keeps on climbing upwards and you've got higher highs, that means no Brexit. Okay, so that's another thing. So that's hence the reason when we look at things from a patterns perspective, we're able to sort of marry it with what's going on in the news. Okay, so this is what we're looking at for the 4-hour chart on the GBP. Okay, and let's erase that. Let's just very quickly go on to a very short time frame for the pound before we proceed to the other pairs. Okay, let's just do that. Let's go on to the 5-minute chart. Let's look at what's going on. As you can see, we have got prices already penetrating through the 3 lines, going under the 3 EMAs, so it's signaling downward move on the very close time frame here. Sorry, a very short time frame, 5-minute chart. If we go on to the 30-minute chart, let's just move in. As you can see, it's got some resistance there, but then more resistance at this area, and then starting to come under 3 lines as well. Once we've got the 1-hour chart, again, we've got more strength to the downside. So whatever that's happening now with prices going a little bit up may only be a correction for the GBP US dollar. Okay, as opposed to a change of trend. Okay, overall we have got more strength to the downside, so that may be possible for it to actually reach the area before it goes up. But even if it does go up after that, it will probably still be a sort of corrective move, making some more pattern that would actually be confirming its downward favorite. okay, in downward favor. You may be favoring on the downside, but it's making corrections to the upside. Okay, so once we have seen that on as you can see on the 4-hour chart and the daily chart, we have got struggles, meaning struggles to go downwards, but trying to bounce off. So on the medium to longer term, we are looking at a possibility or a probability for it on the upside, but now it's correcting. Okay, so we've got to trade that movement according to patterns from short term to medium term, and not actually keep the trades too long based on a very big pattern like this. So it's best for us to be sure of the trend first and be sure not to actually be caught up in the middle like this here, and that's where the problem starts. Once it's actually in the middle of all these three lines and in between and bobbing back and forth, this is when we get uncertainty in the market, so that we need to actually be staying out once the market is in doubt. Okay, all right, so that's it for the GBP US dollar, guys. Okay, we'll look into the 1 hour a little bit. Okay, that's basically what's happening. So let's just put that back onto the 4-hour chart. Okay, and move on to the next currency pair. I'm actually interested in looking at the AUD versus the AUD versus the dollar. Now we have got, as you have seen earlier on, we have got some signals on the downside based on this one here. Okay, we have got more downward pressure. As you can see, we've got euro versus the AUD. We've got an upside for the euro, and then we got downside for the AUD. On the AUD versus the dollar, we've got a downside on the AUD. Okay, so both these ones signaling downside, and then we've got AUD versus the JPY, only versus the JPY that is actually on the upside. So we need to sort of confirm what's going on. Majority of it is giving us hints sort of on the downside, because we've got GBP here. As you can see, it's favoring the upside versus the Australian dollar, so it's stronger compared to the Australian dollar. Then we have got here, as you can see as well, the same thing. We've got it weaker against the US dollar. So we have got a majority of it, the sentiments for the AUD is on the downside. So let's look into the chart. Here we have got sort of a Z-like pattern here. Okay, now if I pull this first leg here, I could see that it goes on the dot of the 200 Fips ratio. This is a good sign. It's not hanging in between two Fibonacci ratios. It's actually on the dot on one of the Fibonacci ratio. The other thing that I like looking at is I like to pull the one before and look at where it lands, and if it lands as well very close to Fibonacci ratio, that's sort of a good sign as well. Okay, it's there. So okay, then I do next is I try to if you look at this here, this Z pattern here is a bullish Z pattern. Okay, if it does actually bounce off from this area here, then it would actually be confirming the Z pattern. But at this moment, it's going through this line here, so this is signaling more strength to the downside for the Australian dollar. Okay, but let's confirm one thing. Usually, if it does come down here, it usually bounce off at the 50% of this long move that you can see. So if I pull this all the way up here, you see my 50% is exactly quite close to where prices are at the moment. Okay, so we need to be quite careful with that, because we need to look at prices. We need to look at, this is the area it might bounce up, so anything could happen, but so we need to adjust it always based on the psychological number. So the price as of now is at 0.7322. Okay, let me just type that now. Okay, 0.7322. So that is your price as of now. Okay, trend wise on the 4-hour, on the daily, not so well. It's not too bad. It actually has crossed under all three lines. On the 4-hour, it's crossed a lot on all three lines, under it quite a lot. It will be nice to see all the EMA lines wide apart, but not just yet, but still it's signaling on the strongest side, on the downside. Then we've got the 1-hour, again it's all on the downside. This is a nice signal here, all the three lines is wide apart. Okay, then we've got the 30 minutes, and then we've got the 5 minutes as well. They're all under all three lines. So let's go back to the 1-hour chart or the 4-hour chart at the moment, and let's look at what's going on here now. It's probably easier for me to show you the 4-hour chart just so that I can look at the pattern as a whole clearer on a 4-hour chart. Okay, but of course we want to first look at trend, pattern versus the trend as well, the trend versus the pattern. As you can see, that ABCD, if it is a sort of Z-like pattern, usually goes quite similar in length here. Okay, now what this means is this Z pattern, usually once it goes this way and then comes downwards, it should be reversing anyway here, but it's not reversing. So because it's not reversing, it's telling you that it has got more strength to the downside for the AUD versus the dollar. Okay, but then what we do next is we look at the price. Now let's say we're expecting for prices to go down more. Okay, all right, and the downtrend, as we have compared all the time frames, downward signal. That's good and well that we're expecting it more on the downside. But let's look at price. Now price, psychological number itself, okay, 22, it's too close to the psychological level of 22. So if at all we're looking at more downside, we need to wait. We need to actually wait for prices to go under the 22 psych number. So we're looking at, ideally we need to watch and wait for prices to go below 7322, like for example a 7310 area. Okay, the more it goes lower, then the safer for it for us to actually look into the downside strength for the AUD versus the dollar. Okay, so this is actually really important for us to do, is to look at price, because it sort of failed a little bit the pattern. Okay, as of now it's very early to say whether the pattern has really failed. Okay, because we have got some prices, I mean the prices have gone through this horizontal line, of course, supposed to bounce off there but didn't. But this only gives us more idea that the strength of the AUD is on the downside, and that was actually matching what we have actually seen on the Yahoo as well, Yahoo News Currency Center, based on what we have seen as well in the chart. It's all under all three lines as well, so this is important for us to do. Okay, but let us zoom in a little bit, erase all drawings here. I'll just keep the price as of now, and ideally where would it be best for re-entering or entering on the short for the AUD US dollar. Okay, but let's zoom in a little bit. Let's look at whether or not we have got patterns. Now we're already into the downside. We've already made sort of a summary of trend for the AUD versus the dollar, so it's on the downside. So what we want to look then is to look for ABCD pattern, that there are bearish ABCD pattern that would give you more ideas that the AUD would actually fall much more. Okay, let me go into shorter time frame. Let's see whether we could actually spot anything. Okay, we have got an A here, B, C, maybe D downwards. Okay, we've got some here as well, but I want to actually look into support resistant areas as well. Okay, so that you'll be safer to understand where are you at the moment of trading. Okay, like for example, you got prices coming downwards, but what are the risk of it to actually just bounce up? Of course, it is at 7316 now. Okay, it's 73, it's under 7320, but not just at the right number as yet. You need to go under 7310 and then start to produce longish candles. Then you know that the bears are actually governing, or the bears are actually dominating the scene. But at this moment, not yet. As you can see, the behavior of candles itself, they're not strongly bearish candles, not just yet. Okay, so there's a lot of thinking going on, a lot of balancing going on between buyers and sellers at the moment. So yes, it is overall on a downside sort of move. It favors the downside, but we want to look at this. Now what we do is that we want to look always to the left around here. Okay, so we have got prices here, and follow the line, and we can see whether or not we have got any sort of support resistant zone or areas that we need to be careful careful of. Okay, because as you can see, prices marked by this white line here. Okay, but then we have got loads of price concentration here. We've got price concentration here as well. Okay, so what we do is we just zoom out a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to pull this all the way back a little bit using a 1 hour, maybe I'll use a 4-hour chart, probably be best, and just so that we get more data. Okay, now I want to move on to concentration areas that in order for me to draw a support and resistance zone. Okay, so let's look at how do we actually do that. We've got prices around here and this family here as well. Now probably go back to my 1 hour chart so that I can draw a slimmer zone. If you go on to higher time frame and draw the zone will be thicker and bigger. Okay, so bigger meaning you've got to wait longer. Of course, it needs more correction. The shorter time frame, the shorter your waiting time, and basically you want to be trading on shorter time frame if you want to day trade as well. Okay, so let's look at this. Look at your concentration area here. We have got loads of concentration area in this area here, but I want to be drawing your support resistance zone close to the area. So let's look at more. Here we go. We have got some very clear lines here. I would like this family around here because we've got very strong support at this area. As you can see, we've got a support here and price went and shot up here. So let's say I'll use this family of candles here, and I'll take that candle in the middle, as you can see. Okay, and I'll take the body, the very small body of that candle, and then I'll take the tail of that candle, and then I'll make sure that I've got a lot of long candles that have penetrated through that. I'll take this one away. No, I'll just leave that one there, and that is the zone that I would like to work on. Okay, so this is marking some very significant support here. As you can see, loads of support here and some resistance and lots of resistance as well. Okay, and it took very long candle to penetrate through this area. So then we go back, okay, and then we look at this one on the, okay, there we go. So as you can see, once I've marked that zone, then it gives us a clearer picture of why prices are struggling at that area, why prices are not doing anything much at that area. Okay, because the prices as of now for AUD USD is entering the a very significant support and resistance zone. Okay, and that's the reason why. So we go on the 30 minutes. Let's look at what's going on. As you can see, we have got prices struggling in this area. If you remember, we actually looked back earlier on, there's lots of support and resistance in this zone here. Okay, so I'll just mark that zone. Let me just mark that zone. So we'll be aware of that zone. Let's go here. Perhaps, okay. I'll just mark that zone by inserting your rectangular shape here. So we're aware that, okay, that's the zone that we're talking about. Okay, significant support resistance zone. Okay, if I minimize that, you could look at the picture. Look at what's going on here on the daily chart. Okay, as you can see, it's struggling at the moment. It's in that area, at that zone. It's struggling to go under the body of that last candle on the daily chart. for the AUD US dollar is actually struggling to come under or penetrating through that zone. Okay, we have got longish candle penetrating through in the past, but here it's not just yet happened. It may not happen, we don't know that yet. But if it doesn't actually penetrate through, but then it makes a correction, then this would actually confirm the success of this Z pattern here. Okay, and if it does actually go upwards, then it will make an upward move, and your TP could be 50% of this move here. Okay, 50% of this long move, 50%. So it will probably go up in the almost half the length of that C to D. So that's your A. This is your B. This is your C. This is your D for your ABCD pattern. Sorry, for the Z pattern. Okay, the ABCD of the Z pattern. All right. So let's clear that out now. Give me a second. Alright, hope that is clear for the AUD US dollar. Okay, we'll move on now a little bit for the gold. Okay, I need to show you what's happening to the gold at the moment. Of course, we have talked a lot about gold. We have actually talked a lot about prices possibly moving upwards, and there's a lot of strength for the gold to actually show itself a little bit more. But when we look at prices are actually falling. Now, for what is actually going on at the moment, it still looks to me like correction. It still looks like, you know, the big boys in the government and all that, they're trying to actually pull the prices down for gold, of course. But pattern-wise, we have got this triangular pattern for prices that have actually shot off out of this, making a channel here. I'll just remove that channel because it's not so bad at the moment. So there are possibilities of prices coming downwards, but it's struggling at the moment at this level, at this area here. This is again another significant support resistant area. I'll just mark it again for you. Okay, this is for gold on the daily chart. Okay, we'll look into shorter time frame in a while. As you can see, this support resistant zone has been marked a long time ago. Okay, but look at what prices are doing. You've got a long candle coming down, marking a lot of bearishness, a lot of investors, big investors selling the gold at the moment. Okay, and this could actually be, we've got banks, for example, the BOJ, or even the Euro banks, or anywhere else. It could actually be marking that move that they are actually doing. But again, price is price, so you would need to be looking at the zone that the prices are actually in. So you have got a zone, a significant support resistance zone that has been marked by the 1263 area to the 1244 area. Okay, so you've got that zone there. Now it would need a longish candle to penetrate through that zone to give you a clear indication that prices is indeed going to fall all the way down. If not, it will actually make a bounce upwards here or a bounce upward there, no upper line or the lower line. So we need to actually wait. It is actually on a risky time. As you can see, 1263.10 as well. Okay, it's under the 0.13. That 13 is under the 20 site number as well. So if you want to look into that, you need to look at the last two digits to be above as well, above 20, which is 30, to mark a potential upward move for the goal. I think I've got some questions here. Osama, you've got some questions. You would like me to show currency change percentage visual and want what to focus on again? Yes, sure, no problem, Osama. I'll just go back to that one. Give me a second. Start off with this one here. As you can see, we have got three areas. You want to be looking at the three most highest movement ones here. Okay, as you can see, for the majors, we have got highest movement on the USD JPY, the Euro JPY, and the Euro and the USD CAD, but more on the USD JPY and the Euro JPY. Okay, but then we have got let's say you've got lots of movement basically on the USD, the Euro, and the JPY. Okay, but if you go on to the economic calendar on the highest impact ones, you have got more hints of prices or pairs concerning the pound would actually be moving much more, because it's getting into the gear before Thursday, because Thursday would actually be looking into much more. We have got close to 6, I think about 6 plus very high-end data reports concerning the concerning Britain and concerning the pound. So we have got all the votes here, and we've got interest rate decision, which is highly impactful. So we want to be looking at the pound, and we'll be looking at the euro as well as the yen, because we have got the reason why we're looking at the yen as well is because loads and loads of selling has actually occurred with the yen. So there's a lot of after effect as well for this whole week for the yen. And the reason being, we have got the yen that has actually gone through movements today. Then we have got also on Friday another what do you call that, impactful event, which is the Governor Kuroda's speech, and that usually wouldn't be written here what the impact is, but that is what you would need to look into from the earlier of the day of Friday, to look at the whole tone and to look at how prices from the candles perspective on the chart as well, whether any new patterns are emerging. Okay, so to summarize, we've got the pound, we've got the yen, the euro as well, but what you do then is you combine them yourself of whichever pair that you would wish to combine them with. But individually, we've got the yen, the pound. Okay, so if you want to combine the GBP, the yen, of course the yen looking at lots of weaknesses. Okay, you would need to check again with the euro, the USD, the GBP on possible patterns as well on the chart. Okay, so these are the ones that you can actually look at. You can get a screenshot here, you can actually take a snap using camera or so, but you will get a recording as well, okay, by tomorrow. So that's basically it for the yen. Let's go back, if you don't mind, Osama. I'll be going back to the gold again, and as you can see, as we are talking about it, we have got the pounds trying to struggle onto that area there, that zone. That zone is a highly significant zone, lots of activities, a lot of balancing between buyers and sellers in that zone. Okay, then we have got let me just increase the size a little bit. Let's look at what's going on with the gold on the 1 hour chart. It's really interesting. As you can see, we have got a longish candle simply landed on the dot on that zone that we have actually drawn. And that zone was drawn, some time back as well, because in drawing that zone, we would need to look back, and we look back and we look at areas or a group of candles, and then we mark that support resistance zone. Okay, and many lines would actually, you can if there are many lines in between that zone, you can always erase those lines if you don't need them, but then make that zone a little thicker, as you can see here. Okay, so that zone runs for 1.1263 area to 1244, as I've mentioned. Now we need to be aware of what prices could do. Only with a longish candle can actually penetrate through this area here, then it would mark more strength to the downside. If not, you could still see a potential move inside this zone, but smaller candles marking a potential correction in this area, and then up it goes again. Okay, so if we go on and look at it from this perspective, as you can see, we have got a cup-like shape here. Okay, but we didn't see a sort of handle coming down and then upwards, but still this one progressed further. Okay, it made a triangle here instead, but now it's actually gone into breaking out. So it's actually broken out here for gold a lot on the 4-hour chart especially, and you can see a lot of struggle at the moment here. Okay, it is still showing lots of signs of bullishness from the fundamentals and the news for gold, because we were looking at it all depends on the correction that the dollar plays. So if there are more correction in the dollar, at the moment we have got more strength in the dollar, as you can actually see. Okay, you got a lot of inside politics that actually sort of made it more positive suddenly for the dollar. Okay, so that could be a potential or a probable correction for the dollar. Okay, correction on the upside. Okay, this one here for gold, a correction on the downside. Okay, so let's look at it. Now there's something very interesting with gold as well. Let's look at the 4-hour chart now. If we're looking at the 4-hour chart here, we have got a little, I would say, wouldn't be 100% clear, but we've got a bit of an ABCD going on here. But if I attach that with this big move here, that may signal a bit of a M-like pattern here for me. Okay, that also means that that length of that one and that one here makes out the ABCD. So that's my A here, all right, and then I've got my B here, and then C here, and D. So it may actually still come into here, but somewhere in the middle of the way we will measure that that length AB to be CD and look at where it lands. Okay, and that would be a potential X here. Okay, so what does that do? If it does actually come through and come around here and start to reverse, then it would actually reverse upwards. The M pattern is a bullish like pattern, so that is a possibility. So hence the reason it's best for us to look into the pattern to expect what could happen, not what will happen, what could potentially happen. A probable scenario is very important. So this is a probable scenario. Okay, most of the traders may be on the buy side. Let's say if you are on the buy side and you are you are on the bulls side and you have actually bought the goal. All right, now you would need to understand that if at all you're trading with patterns, you would be expecting a little bit more or potential losses until it comes to this area here before it actually goes back up to your direction. Okay, so that's the reason why we need to spot pattern and spot pattern well to actually cut out our risk as well. So this is what's going on. But at the moment we have got a bit of a battle between prices and that zone that we can see here. Okay, that zone. So let me just clear that first. Okay, and draw that ABCD for you. And if I draw that, this is for gold, guys. Okay, now if I take that and bring that in, yes, it would penetrate through it, but not that much. You have got a potential here, okay, of the ABCD. You got 1260.55. Okay, now I'll draw another line just to give you that. Now this is all visual, meaning that you've done an ABCD visually by having AB equals CD. But let's use Fibonacci now. Let's click on that A, go down to B, and look at where C lands. Very close to 78.6. Okay, so 78.6. Usually the D would be at 1.272 roughly. Okay, so if I click on all the way up here, okay, I've got 1.27 127.2 here, okay, and I've got 1.618 all the way down here, just in case, because the reason why I took 1618 as well is a potential, because the C didn't really touch the 78.6 on the dot. Okay, it was almost touching it. So what we do is that we just to be on the safe side, we want to mark at least 2 lines. So we have got potential of it bouncing off here. Okay, potential of prices coming down, bouncing off here, or coming even further down. Depends on what's going on in the States as well. Depends on the banks, depends on the play inside the bigger banks, Federal Reserve, and the interest rates, and all this cover up of data releases from the States, and whether or not they are trying to push the US dollar up a little bit more. There are a lot of interplay going on treasury bills, on what they are actually trading and what they are actually buying and selling inside the US. So it's got to do with treasury bills, got to do with the bonds, got to do with the inside working of all these things that are in transaction at the moment. Okay, it's not really the economy. It's not got to do with the economy, because it's got no reason why you would appreciate when there's too many data showing showing negative signs of the economy going down the drain for the US. Okay, so we have got, look at prices now trying to bounce up there. So if at all this does not happen, bounce up from here, might be pushed down a little bit more, bounce up from here. Okay, so it could be here or here, but may also be earlier, but then that's the risk part here. But you see price have actually just landed on that zone. So here we go, we've got potential of it just coming upwards after that. Okay, so that's basically for the goal at the moment. To conclude, you would need to be more aware of the patterns, be more aware of the price, most importantly, okay, and also to look at what's going on in the states. Okay, so the state of politics in the state with all these Trump vote and things like that are impacting a lot of things, because we are now seeing a lot of negativity with Hillary and the rest, and a lot of inside news coming up, and Trump is actually able to point out real data as well. He's actually going into, he's quite smartly have pointed out all the data that is not right and what needs to be corrected and all that kind. So he's playing a very, very smart game in that side of it, and pointing people to all the faults that are not real and shown as real by the government and all that. And that is actually giving a positive hint, a positive air towards Trump's election and votes and things like that. So you never know, it might actually be on the upward. Still has got loads of momentum to go upwards for the states, so repairing, and then maybe some other things might come back down, come back to actually bring the dollar down again. Okay, so but as of now we have got correction. Okay, correction for the goal to the downside, and correction for the US dollar to the upside. So it is going up a little bit more for the dollar, going down a little bit more for the gold. So but you need to be aware until where would it actually be coming down, to this area or this area here. So this is the risk area. Okay, if it is just bouncing off from here, would be good news for most who are already buying it anyway. Okay, so that's basically for gold. All right, now if we go on to this one here, we can see that they sort of mirror each other here. Okay, sort of, there we go, sort of mirror. You see like a J sort of pattern here. Okay, and then we got concentration of price like in the triangle here. All right, then if we move on to silver on the 4-hour chart, we can see the same. Over the daily chart, we've got a sort of J as well. Okay, so that's basically it. We have got loads of upward pole-like movement, pole-like pattern. Okay, movement upwards like that. Then you've got downward pressure. Okay, that may create the flag, and then more upward move. So yes, it's still on the upside. It's actually, as you can see, we've got loads of even visually, you've got higher lows as well. You've got higher lows, and then high lows as well. Okay, so that is a sort of indicator of the floor. Okay, on the upside. See, it's on the upside. All right, still, and that itself gives you a sort of 2 o'clock, sorry, a 1 o'clock and above sort of angle as well. So that gives us some hint, possibility on the upside. Okay, so that's basically it. Now let's look at other. That's for silver, guys. So let's move on to another currency. Before I open up the session for more questions regarding your trades, you got USD JPY. Now a very interesting one here. USD JPY. We sort of earlier, before I've started the session, the session, we had prices just jammed on here on the 108.392, which is similar in length. There's an ABCD here on the USD JPY 1-hour chart. We've got an AB equals CD here. Okay, now we had prices just about half an hour ago, prices concentrated here, but then now it's moving higher upwards. Now the reason for that as well is that once I have pulled from my A to the B, okay, I find that it has actually gone to the 50 sort of Fibonacci ratio. Okay, now if I take that off, 50 usually marks 200 as a possible D target. Okay, so once I click on that one there, all right, let me just show you that there. Right, so we have got it coming downwards here, and we have 200 right there. As you can see, price now is just really close to that area of 200, and then it's just coming back down. It looks like it's actually just reversing right at the 200. So that ABCD worked really well with the Fibonacci, but it's given you some early moves already. So meaning early signs of getting out or exiting the market should actually be under this area here, not wait till it goes to all three lines, you see. So you can always exit there, but where could you have entered the USD JPY on the upside? You could have entered anywhere above there, okay, and make that very nice upside move buy on that. And that this is just a 1 hour chart that we're talking about, and that could actually happen from a day, from a couple hours to 1 or 2 days, usually based on the 1 hour chart. Okay, so we have got that there, and as you can see, prices is nicely reversing at the moment on that second option. The second option was based on the Fibonacci. You pull the B to the C to get the 200, and that's exactly where. But we're not going to trade like that by just following what you actually see. We want to actually readjust or tweak these numbers here. As you can see, 108.61, tweak it until it's actually under the psychological number. So if at all I'm actually buying above this number here based on psychological level, I would like to exit, or could have already exited, not waited for hold this move, could have already exited at 108.40, which is brilliant number here, as you can see. Okay, so that's basically it for the USD JPY. So what's next for the USD JPY is that when we move this one here, okay, we've still got the ABCD, correct? Now when you look at prices before the ABCD, on the left side we have got a sort of a longish move. Okay, if I take that move and pull it downwards here, then I've got a W pattern. Now that W is signaling a potential downward move again. So there you've got an ABCD, you traded a buy here, you can then trade a sort of sell as well here once it has actually reversed in that PRZ zone or potential reversal zone here. Okay, so if I pull my Fibonacci from X, this is my X now, to A, this is the X to A of the W-like pattern. As you can see, we have got all the way here, we've got the 88.6 here. If I pull it further up, okay, I've got the 50 right there as well. Okay, so the 50 is also a good one to look at, a potential of where it might actually reverse, because you got prices have actually gone through the 38.2, but then it's going upwards, and once you pull that Fibonacci, you've got the 50 Fibonacci, which is really close, but then it has started to reverse there. So this signals a sort of downward potential at the moment. It may be a correction, but then that downward move, if it does start to come downwards, then your risk is at this area here. Why? Because we have got the 200 EMA here, and once you follow this level and look left, we have got some support resistant area here. So this is a very important area, so you can actually trade in between here for a sell, but adjust your number based on psychological number here. If at all you are going to be shorting or sell, then it should be under the 50 side number. So under 50 by 10 would be 40, so it should be 108.40, okay, to be an ideal short position, okay, for the USD versus the yen on the 1 hour chart. And then you want to actually then be looking at the TP area that is above here, so it should be above the 0010700 area, so your TP would then actually be safer at the 107.10 area, okay, for your USD versus the yen. All right, so that's entry and that's potential exit. Only after prices has actually gone to this level and gone under that you want to be looking at. Now it's at 49, so you've got another 10 pips or so, and we're looking at potential reversal. As you can see, prices have just begun to reverse a little bit more. Okay, if you zoom in, you can see that's what's happening at the moment. If you want to make sure what's going on now, we go into the shorter time frame, 5-minute chart, look at the potential. We've got more candles here. That means more candles marking more movement, more activities, okay, on the shorter time frame even. So then you move up to the 1 hour, you can see it's happening. Go to the 4 hour, you can see it's stuck right there. Then you go into the daily chart, you can see that almost candles are actually under 3 lines. So there are a potential on the downside for the USD JPY. Perhaps it's a correction, we don't know that yet, but we want to actually trade as time goes by. We don't want to be planning too long, far too long, and because if you plan far too long, sometimes depending on how you're trading it, it would actually then you know, be changed. The whole scenario could actually be impacted by news and data, especially now, and especially this week we've got loads of data releases, especially for the pound, so you want to actually be quite careful for that, okay, especially pound related currencies. All right, now what about the euro US dollar? And if you guys have got any questions, feel free to ask. We have got, let's see what's going on. As you can see, it's a bit of unpredictability. I would like you guys to be aware of prices when they are actually trading inside the 3 lines. As you can see, they're actually trading inside the 2 lines now, and that does actually show a bit of uncertainty going on. Once they are actually playing about, once prices are playing about in within the 3 lines or in within it, not clearly above all 3 lines or under all 3 lines, that is signaling some balance of transaction between buyers and sellers, okay, which also marks a bit of uncertainty, marking a 3 o'clock angle play at the moment. So you need to actually be aware when that actually happens. What you can then look at are 2 things. When that happens going sideways, you look at the price 1395. As you can see, usually when that happens going in between 3 lines or going sideways, you look into the price, you'll see that it's usually very close to the psych levels as well. Like this one, 1395, 5 pips above is really close to the 00 psych number as well. Okay, then you go further down, you got the 80 psych number. So there, prices now are between the psych numbers or the psych levels as well. So it's really very risky timing here to place a trade or to enter and things like that, okay. And also with the trend wise, it's not above all 3 lines, but once you see that, once you see prices traveling sideways or trying to think here, look at the price and try to tweak your entry only based on site numbers, and then you want to also look left and look at whether or not there are zones available. There may be zones and maybe a family of candles that you can actually draw your zones, okay. So as you can see here, if I pick this one here and that one here, that mark a sort of zone as well. I can keep improving this zone, okay. Let's see if we do it this way. We have also got candles. Let's see, okay. On the upside, we have got this zone here. Oops, give me a second. Right. Okay, as you can see, we've got family of candles here. You can take this one here as well, okay. We've got this one here. All right, and mark it like that, okay. Now this is based on this long candles here. All right, I mark the body first based on this candle body, and then I mark the tail up there. So I've got that zone, and I want to look at whether or not beside it I've got any candles body. There are no candles on this in this family, but I've got longish candle going through this zone, and I've got loads of support resistance. So this is quite a good zone to mark it. So what I can then do is look into marking this zone here as significant support resistance. Okay, there we go. So there you go. See, it's really a powerful support resistant area. So what does that mean? That means prices, if at all, is going to go downwards. It's got loads and loads of resistance. It's got loads of obstacles. Okay, if prices were to come down here, it has to penetrate through with a longish candle to go through this area, this blue zone area. But then once it does go through, there's another challenge, which is this 200 moving average. Then with this moving average here, if you look left, you've got loads of concentration of candles here as well. So this is where we want to really be very, very careful. Okay, for you to be sure that you are trading based on the prices, on the support resistance area as well, and then based on the patterns too. Okay, so this is uncertain time on the 4-hour chart. It's a lot of uncertainty. You need to be very, very careful. There is a potential of a Z-like pattern, perhaps. We don't know that yet. We need to do a bit of measurement. Take that one all the way up. It's not really that nice of a pattern of a Z-like pattern as yet, but definitely lots of uncertainty going on here. So if I go into the 1-hour chart and go here, if you go into the 1-hour chart, you could see loads of support area here. Okay, it might just shoot up. We don't know that yet. All depends on the dollar too. Okay, and we've got lots of resistance here in this zone as well. So we, based on prices like now and prices before that as well, most recent ones, more support than resistance. So they might actually shoot it up. But to shoot up the prices for the euro versus the dollar, you need prices to really push up high with long candles to go through these 3 lines of the EMAs as well. Okay, so at this stage, Euro USD is better to be sitting back, because you're not looking at a 4 to 6 o'clock angle. You're looking at 3 o'clock angle. You're not looking at a 1-2 angle either. So sideways trend is uncertainty. Uncertainty is not giving us a nice what do you call that, strong trend play. Okay, if you are trading with the trend using patterns and all that, you would like a strong trend at play. At this stage, not yet for the euro versus the dollar. Okay, and it's the same for most of the other time frames as well. As you can see, lots of uncertainty except for the longer term potential on the upside, because it's above the 3 lines. But again, that we don't actually really know as yet until prices play out from the 5 minutes, 1 hour and 4 hour, and give you better hints of whether or not penetrating through or bouncing off from this zone that we have just drawn, because this is a very highly significant zone that you can see for the euro versus the dollar. Okay, all right guys, I've covered a couple of pairs already. Lastly, I would like to also look into the USD versus the CAD, because we have had quite a number of traders wanting to know about the CAD. We have got the dollar versus the CAD appreciating in price, going through all these zones as well. We made this analysis a long time back, where we targeted A, B, C, D for C, from C to D, for D to actually reach this zone, and it has definitely reached there and now bounce upwards. Okay, so the bouncing off upwards is giving a hint to the upside, and certainly, as we have seen earlier on, based on this as well, we've got lots of strength for the dollar versus the CAD as well. Okay, and this one here is giving more hint to the upside, and once you see hints on the upside or downside, you would like to always look at prices first. Now prices, as you can see, if at all you say, okay, USD CAD looks like on the upside, look at the price, see whether or not in terms of timing, is it best to look into timing. Before timing, you would need to actually check on trends, but in this case, just looking at it visually itself, USD versus a CAD on a 1 hour chart, we're looking at 1.297576. Now the 7576 is just too close to the 80 site number. So if you're looking at appreciation of prices for the US dollar versus the CAD, you want it to go above the 80, like the 90 or so, and then trade it, because if not, it would just be a little too risky for you to actually enter when your last two digits of the price that you're looking at now is too close to the site levels. Okay, but of course you want to then look into loads of trend clues, whether or not the trends are on the upside. As you can see for the USD CAD, yes, it is on the upside. You've got lots of bounces off from here. You've got the three lines opening wide, showing upward trend. You've got the angle here, 1 o'clock sort of angle, not even 2 o'clock, so 1 o'clock sort of angle going towards 12 o'clock, so really strong upward trend. Okay, so in saying that, if you want to look at prices going upward trend, much more, giving you more idea to the upside, then you want prices to go above the 80. Then it gives you much more hint. If you go onto the 4-hour chart, you could see that it has already crossed over the 3 moving averages. So yes, much more clue based on the 4-hour chart that you've got more appreciation to the upside. Then you move on to the daily chart. You've got prices trying to do that, but not just yet. So we've got clearer indication on the 4-hour, 1 hour to the 4-hour, but in terms of price for the USD versus the CAD, you want to wait for prices first, because now it may be doing a bit of a correction because prices too close to the site numbers and bouncing back downwards on the 80 site number. Okay, as you can see, if you put your price here, you can see that prices exactly bounce at 2993, too close to the 00 as well. Okay, all right, so that's basically on the USD CAD. Some of you guys may have asked me about oil as well. Let me just quickly go to oil before we end the session or take your questions. We have got oil. You would see oil mirroring a lot with the commodities like the silver and gold as well. And as you would see or have seen earlier on with gold, it is actually gold and silver making a bit of a correction, meaning coming downwards first before it move up. So that would also be going on for oil. And you can always type onto Google under the news section and put oil and type oil forecast under the news section. You'll get all the latest news giving you indication of what's going on with oil at the moment. Okay, and that will give you a bit of a hint, and you marry that with what you see on the patterns as well. Now with the 4-hour chart for oil, we have got a W-like pattern here. Okay, so that would be a W-like pattern there. We have got depreciation potential of prices for oil. Maybe not take it that far, take it right here first, or perhaps up there. Maybe better up there, because then the X would be much higher than this area. But as you can see, I've drawn out the zones here and give you an indication what's going on. We have got prices trading on a sideway at the moment, but then bouncing off from the 50 moving average. So we would need prices to penetrate through and come under 43.13 to give it more hint to the downside. Okay, so that's basically what's going on with oil. If I go for the daily chart, we still have got prices above all three moving average. So in that sense, what it may mean is a correction to the downside before it goes above. If it does make correction, then you've got an A, B, and then C somewhere here, and then D further up again. Okay, so that's basically what's going on for oil. All right, before I end the session for today's Monday webinar, I would like to open the session to questions. If you've got any based on your trades or the markets as a whole, please feel free to ask if you've got any questions. Thank you. All right, guys, any questions at all? Anything that for those who are actually trading the goal, let's say, if everything is clear on your plan, your strategy, on whether or not to plan to leave your trades, or you've got extra trades to open to hedge it, or what are your plans? If you've got any questions, feel free. you can ask me. And for those who have already taken profit, I guess for the USD CAD on the sell side, are you guys already continuing your trades to the upside? For those who are still wondering whether or not the pound would actually correct itself, it's actually, as mentioned earlier on, we have got the pattern, the AB, the Z-like pattern, so it's due a correction upwards, but a little bit more move on the downside before it corrects itself upwards. Okay, so that's basically what's going on with most currency pairs at the moment, but watch out fundamentally on data release for the GBP, as I have mentioned earlier on. Meanwhile, waiting for your questions. If you guys have any, I'll just show you the screenshot of the most important data releases this week. So as you can see, this is what we have, and secondly, pairs as of today. So when you look at these boxes again tomorrow, you will have different numbers, different pairs as well. So we want to be looking at this one occasionally every day. As soon as you ready to trade, you want to actually be looking into movement of currencies, which one has moved a lot on the upside or downside, for you to actually simply draw out a column like this, strong versus weak, and then you pick the first three from each type of combination of currencies, you know, whether it's the majors or the European crosses or the yen crosses. Like this one here gave us a very clear indication of yen's downward move, because yen, as you can see, all other currencies, most of the currencies, more than 90% currencies that versus the yen are on the upside, and they're on the upside quite high as well, as you can see. Okay, 1 point something, 50 plus, 70 plus AUD versus the yen is really high on the upside. So this signals loads of downward pressure for the yen. So this gives us a lot of downward potential opportunities for the yen. Okay, so what you want to then do is to combine a currency with the yen, a strong currency with the yen, so you can buy the other currency and short the yen. Okay, but you want to be looking at patterns, and you want to be looking at which strong currencies are really much stronger than the yen. Then you combine the two together, and then you look for patterns that would confirm that movement. Okay, so that's basically what you do. All right. Okay, guys, I think if I do not have, I don't think I've got any questions so far, so I would like to probably just wrap up here, and see you again next Monday. If at all you guys have got any last minute questions later on, you can always email me at kenny@orbex.com, and to request as well, you can always send to request for the recording of this live webinar. You can always send it to me, to my email as well, and just request that. I'll have that sent to you directly. Not a problem. Okay, guys, so that's all for now. I don't see any questions, so if not, then it'll be best to hear from you via email, and then see you again next week, same time, Mondays. Every Monday, it's 4 p.m. my time, which is 2 p.m. GMT. Okay, so all right, guys, thank you very much for attending today's live Mondays webinar, and see you again next week. Thank you very much. Bye.